Okay, welcome back to my latest video, and in today's video we're going to be doing another topic of mine. We're going to focus more on real life experiences because I think a lot of people are kind of bored of my school talk, my school topics. So in today's video we're going to talk about my experience volunteering, and in particular I want to talk about this one person that kept being sort of a dick towards me. So let's get right into it here. So very much for a brief introduction, basically I started volunteering around 2 or 3 weeks ago. I volunteered in this place in downtown LA. It's called the organization is called the Museum of Social Justice, and they were doing a collaboration with the Black Lives Matter. And basically, I heard about this opportunity because my history department, the person that's in charge or the advisor or whatever, I sent out an email. I checked the flyer. I was pretty interested. I attended a Zoom meeting. One thing led to another, and there I was volunteering. So essentially, my jobs were pretty interesting because I thought I was going to work in in a building where I could like give people information on this and that, but due to the pandemic, everything was kind of done outside. So basically, I did a bit of heavy lifting. I kind of carried stuff out from the church because the church was part of the museum too, or something like that. I was also given like a little stopwatch to count how many people would come in, and finally my job was to kind of like make people feel comfortable. So if people were looking at the exhibits, or if people were looking at the art, I would encourage them. I'd be like, hey, come on in, it's free. Like I would really try to get them to check out more, because a lot of people actually they just kind of look at it outside, but they're kind of unsure if they can enter or not, because we don't have like a physical sign that says only certain people can enter. It's kind of all inclusive, but I guess for some people they think it's like a VIP event or something like that. And in particular, the person that kind of was a dick towards me, I remember when I first saw him, I didn't know who he was because nobody really told me who he was. So yeah, I was just like, oh, I just saw this random elderly man who's kind of fat, walks with a cane, a bit of a limp in the left leg. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? In the back of my mind, but I just kept like doing my business. And then I think I started to volunteer a few more times, and then I think one of my coordinator, one of my supervisor, she told me to like, oh, this is one of the artists. You may have seen some of his arts. This guy, he does pretty cool arts. He does like a lot of collages, so you see a lot of like pictures that are sort of mixed together. So it's really, really cool, but I have to respect his artistic side. But when it came to like talking to him personally, I was getting a very unusual vibe because, given the fact that I'm around like 60 years his junior, meaning I'm 60 years younger than him. It's kind of hard to talk to people that are usually a bit older, especially if they're that fucking old. I'm like, yo, what is there to talk about? It's kind of like me talking to my grandma and my grandpa. It's a very big difference in age. And I remember the conversations, they were always pretty repetitive. So at first he asked me some question like, oh, hey, how's your day going? And I'd just be honest with him. I'll just be honest with him. I'd be like, oh, my day's not going so good, blah blah. You kind of talk more, and then somewhere down the line, I guess he just started to switch off his mindset, and he started to become a bit more hostile towards me. And a few instances of him kind of being a few instances of this guy kind of being a dick towards me would be one time after we had our little brief 2 minute talk. This guy starts clapping out of nowhere, and I'm like, why the fuck are you clapping? But I didn't say it in that manner. I literally asked him like, why are you clapping? But I guess maybe because my voice is very monotone, maybe it came off more as like serious rather than me being curious. And he kind of got offended by my tone, I guess, because it's really hard to tell if I'm feeling happy or sad. And then he got all fucking defensive. He was like, "Oh, are you saying I can't clap? Why shouldn't I clap?" I'm like, "Bro, like, I'm not coming at you like that. Like you're completely misreading my cue. I was curious because, no one else was clapping. You're the only fucking dumbass that was clapping like a retard. So I was very, very curious. I was curious why. I was like, who does this? Um, so yeah, that's definitely one instance where he kind of jumped the gun and assumed that I was kind of like giving him very hostile vibes, which is funny because this man talks about being positive, but the experience that I got out of him, or the conversations that me and him had, were very, very negative. Another example would be, I believe, last Friday, where so basically there sometimes you have some of those people that come in, they kind of talk your ear off for like very, very long time. So there's this guy that I was talking to. He was from East Africa. I think he's from Tanzania or something like that. And he was just pretty much talking about like, oh, he was pretty much giving me the whole talk of like, oh, my country's better than your country because blah blah. And I actually enjoyed his talk. Like I do agree with some of his viewpoints. I mean, I'm not a patriotic American. I don't vote for fuck's sake. So that shows you how un-American I am. But after we were done talking, this guy again. I won't give his name out because I wanna protect his privacy. But I feel like I should. But I don't want anything to bad happen to him. Maybe he just had a bad experience or something. But anyways, he's all like, he's like, hey, Permagian, I think you should stop talking to people. Like let them enjoy the art, man. Just relax, bro. Like stop fucking being such a worry cat. And I'm like, bro, like this guy's talking to me because the way that our tent is set up, it's a very indoors, but you can see there's like a little slit, so you can kind of see a bit of what's going on. And this guy usually, whenever he comes by, he just kind of sits his ass on a chair, and that's all he does. That's literally all he does. I mean, he's sort of like the proverbial security guard, I guess, or the hype man. But this guy again was assuming that I was talking to some guy for like an hour, and I wasn't. And maybe he felt that I wasn't doing my job correctly. And I'm like, bro, why don't you volunteer then, huh? I mean, you have a pretty loud voice. You hear every single day. Why don't you do some of the work that I do, so that way I can learn from you. But I guess according to his point of view, I wasn't doing the correct job or something like that. And finally, on the last day of the exhibit closing, which I believe was on Sunday, but the last day that I volunteered, which was on Saturday, or this past Saturday, basically, because sometimes when I volunteer, I have to wait for people to come too, so it's kind of boring. So I remember I just took a picture of some of the new paintings that I never saw before because I wanted to capture as many pictures as possible, or else once this exhibit is over, everybody gets the art back and then you never see them again. But anyways, after I took a picture, this guy, he's like, hey, and then he doesn't remember my name. So what I should have done was I should have just like walked away because, he could have like been talking to someone else, or I could have made him look stupid. But, me being respectful because I'm Asian towards older people, I made the mistake again of coming to this guy, knowing full well that in the past I never really bonded well with him, and he asked me some question. He's like, "Oh, do you like art?" I'm like, "Well, not really, but I have to respect the artist's contributions and all that." And then he's like, "Oh, stop contradicting yourself, bro." And then he started saying that like I was twisted, I lack social communication skills, and pretty much giving me the idea that I was a very fucked up person in the head. And then the last thing he ever said to me was like, "Bro, I'm talking." I think he said like something along the lines of, "I'm done talking to you, man." And I'm like, "Finally," like I didn't want to talk to your fucking ass anyways. You're always giving me a hard time. I don't know if it's because of my ethnicity or maybe because an Asian guy in the past fucked you over or something. I don't know if it's just a race card or I don't know if it's because something about me kind of irks him. I don't really know the mindset. And then afterwards, he did a really like childish thing. So basically, after he kind of like roasted me a bit, one of the other volunteers, because Saturday usually is very packed, so you tend to see more people and you tend to see more volunteers come and help the exhibit. So after he was done roasting me, one of the volunteers, let's call her Holly. Holly came in and he just started saying like, "Oh, did you know Parmigian here doesn't like black people art, or he doesn't like black people?" He kind of gave me this or he kind of told people this idea to like I was racist or something. And I looked at Holly's face and she was literally like confused because like the few times I talked to her, I don't think I came off as that kind of person. And then afterwards, she kind of left, and then my supervisor came in and he kind of said the same thing again. And my supervisor, she kind of laughed, like I'm pretty sure he was just fucking around, he was bantering me. But I'm like, dude, like why would you do this to me? Like you already roasted me, and now you want to fucking make me look bad by telling this in front of my other coworkers. I think that's a very dick move. But then again, I don't really know this guy's mindset. In the end, I'm very very confused. Regardless, my volunteer experience was pretty fun because my goal for the summer was to be more productive instead of playing games all day. But people like this in downtown LA, dude, like I think you guys just gotta be careful. If you guys ever go to downtown LA, just be careful of the kind of people that you meet because you will meet very, very interesting people, and especially elderly people too. I think at this point, they're about to kick the bucket for lack of a better term, and I guess they're just gonna go off and try to do whatever the fuck they want because they're not gonna live for much longer. If I'm being honest with you guys, so if this guy wants to go down in history as the guy that, you know, bullied people like me because, you know, we look different or whatever, then so be it, you know. I think one day karma will get him eventually because karma happened to me before, and I think it happens to everyone. But with that being said, that'll be it for this video. Once again, I don't understand the guy's mindset of why he would go after someone like me, but you know, that's up for debate. And regardless, I think that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.